Hello, class. Today I will be talking about the conventional deadlift. You want to start this exercise by squatting down with the hips lower than the shoulders. Grasp the bar with an alternated grip, shoulder width apart. The feet should be hip and shoulder width apart and toes pointed slightly outward. During the upward movement, the knees and hips are extended and keep the hips lower than the shoulders and keeping a neutral spine. Keep the heels on the floor. Keep the bar as close to the body as possible. During the descent, flex the knees and the hips in a controlled manner. Keep the spine neutral and heels on the floor. A couple cues I like to give for the deadlift are as follows. Spread the floor or screw the feet into the floor. Push the hips back. Make sure the bar is touching the shins at the setup. Engage the lats during the pull by pulling them backwards. Keep the chest tall through the pull and descent. A regression that I like to use with my athletes that are just now starting to deadlift is the dial deadlift. I like to start this exercise by keeping 3 points of contact at all times. So this means keep the back of the head between the shoulder blades and the glutes on the PVC pipe. Keep the abs tight and ribs down. Push the hips back as far as possible while keeping the knees slightly bent. There are a few benefits to this exercise. I like to say that it increases hamstring flexibility, allows for activation of the posterior chain. If this exercise is done correctly, it teaches the athlete to lift with the hips and takes pressure off the hips and the spine. A progression that I like to use for the deadlift is the kettlebell deadlift. This exercise is pretty similar to the conventional deadlift. You're going to start with a neutral spine. A difference is you're going to start with your feet shoulder width apart. You want to reach down and grab the kettlebell with both hands. Lift up, extending the knees, extending the hips while keeping a neutral spine. At the top, you want to make sure that the hips and knees are all fully extended. There are benefits to all three of these variations as well. The deadlift strengthens the posterior chain, targets the core and glutes, improves posture if done correctly. Performing 6 to 10 reps of heavy resistance releases testosterone and human growth hormone. The non-traditional exercise that I will be talking about today is the single leg RDL. First, you start this exercise by gripping the kettlebell with the right or left hand in a pronated grip. Next, slightly bend the knee of the support leg. Hinge the hips while lowering the kettlebell while the non-support leg swings up behind you. A few cues that I like to give during this exercise is to maintain a neutral spine, just to make sure the spine doesn't round. Do not squat the support leg. Keep the knee slightly bent throughout the entire exercise up until full extension at the end. Come to full extension after each rep. Grip the floor with the toes. This is also an exercise that you would progress to. One regression for the single leg RDL is the single leg RDL with the reach. You start this exercise similar to the single leg RDL. Make sure that the knee is slightly bent and the weight is on the heel of the support leg. You start this exercise by hinging the hips backwards while the non-supported leg swings up behind you. The only difference is you're going to reach forward with both hands while keeping a neutral spine and making sure that the torso is parallel to the ground and the spine and the leg of the non-supported leg is straight. There are a few benefits to all three of these single leg exercises. These benefits are it works on mobility, imbalances, bilateral deficiencies, and increases ankle mobility and stability, which makes them less prone to injury. All of these exercises are appropriate for all walks of life, whether it's an young athlete or just the general population, someone that's just trying to get back into shape. Just make sure the proper steps are taken to introduce each exercise to the individual. Safety is the number one factor when exercising. If the individual cannot perform the exercise correctly, then more time is needed to be spent on the instruction of the exercises. So more time needs to be spent in the regression stages of each exercise. Make sure all signs and symptoms are paid close attention to and taken seriously.